Today we're going to be tying one of my favorite patterns, a Polish woven caddis nymph. We're going to be tying it in size 12 on a Fulling Mill FM 1135 grub hook. Grab some black 6/0 thread and start wrapping backwards. When you have a little bit of a thread base down, you can rip off the tag end. We are using a 1/8 inch black bead. You can use brass or tungsten, whatever you prefer. Next, we're going to grab some Indian henback in a brown or darker color, and you want to approximate it. It doesn't need to be 100% accurate, but your tail should be around a hook gap in length. So I like to hold the tail as I tie it in to make sure it stays on the top of the shank. And I like to wrap down a little bit so the tail kind of curves with the shank. Now wrap forward to lock in the threads and either rip or cut them off. Now we're going to grab some chartreuse vevus floss and tie it in on the near side to us. It's a little fiddly to work with at first, but once you get it locked down, it gets a little bit easier. Not a ton, but a little bit. And you want to make sure that you line it up on the side of the hook, not on top, not on the bottom, not on the other side. Now you're going to grab a piece of black floss, and you're going to tie that in on the far side and lock it down. Pull it to length if you need to. And this is the important part. You want them to be on the sides as you tie them in, as much as you can. Then you're going to wrap forward, and now we get to the fun part. So essentially, you're going to start a loop, an overhand loop with the material you want to be the top. So in this case, I'm using black. And the bottom color, chartreuse, I'm wrapping around the black thread after I create my loop and pulling it through the loop to my side. And then you straighten it out and tighten it down a little bit, and you have your first knot. The first couple knots are a little tricky with the floss because it's so flimsy, but you get the hang of it after a couple of flies. But it's definitely not the easiest material to work with. We'll continue doing that, making 8 to 12 knots so that we have 4 to 6 segments per side. It gives it a really nice abdomen. I'm going to speed it up a little bit though because it can get a little monotonous. And you got to be careful of the hook point because the floss loves to get caught on that. Make sure after each knot you pull tight backwards to cinch them down. While making the top loop, you have to be careful of the thread, that the loop does not go around the thread because it will tangle up the bottom fiber. The fun thing about this pattern is you can experiment with really any colors you want. I think a brown and an orange would be a fun one for October. A tan and a brown one would be really nice for lighter colored caddises. And then you could also do it in wire, which would be kind of fun. Probably a little easier to wrap, but I'm sure it has its own pros and cons. That's probably one of the next flies I'm going to try tying, is an olive and chartreuse wire woven nymph. I rotate my vise periodically just to make sure the knots are going down as they should. Sometimes you'll need to pull out a knot and redo it, because when you mess up on this pattern, you can really see it. There's not a lot to hide it. The Polish style nymphs are some of my favorite Euro flies. They're just fun to tie. You feel like you're at summer camp or something, weaving away. They're my little friendship bracelets for the fish. Now grab some more Indian henback and tie in some legs. You don't want them too long. Then you're gonna snip off the ends and tie it down. I like to rotate my vise a little bit and just check the alignment of the legs. Here they're a little more on my side, so I rotate them over and then finish tightening them down. Now I'm going to grab some tactical nymph dub from Fulling Mill in bronze peacock and make a really small thin dubbing noodle. And this is going to be my collar. I'm going to brush it back a little bit. Now I'm going to grab my whip finish tool and apply 4 to 5 wraps. Snip off the excess, apply some water-based head cement, and the fly is finished and ready to fish. Thank you for watching my first fly tying video. I've been tying since I was in elementary school, but it's fun to finally record something and put it out there. You can find me on Instagram at Motor City Fly Tying Company.